Ladies and gentlemen, I'm reading an article in The Hill. AOC is the Democrats' best chance against Trump in 2024. And it's an opinion piece in The Hill. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is less of a personality and more of a movement. Not really. Not at all. They cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign. Then they blamed the Kremlin for us knowing about them cheating Bernie. Democrats can't even run a fair primary, and they pontificate and obsess over democracy. Now, AOC is not interested in actual policies because her policies are not feasible. They're not realistic. Even the Democratic Party, Democrats won't even vote for Medicare for all. So that's why there was this whole thing where Jimmy Dore was calling them out, and rightfully so, and all of these quote-unquote progressives or left-leaning pundits or journalists, they were after Jimmy Dore because he just basically said, hey, AOC and others have made a whole lot of money in terms of campaign fundraising. I'm not sure if that was his argument exactly, but they made millions upon millions of dollars fundraising, especially the $20 million venture capital funded people. And they started political action committees. And they started whatever movement, it's likely should be viewed as a bowel movement, regarding Medicare for all, single-payer, Green New Deal legislation. They wouldn't even vote on that in the Senate, by the way. Okay, Mitch McConnell had to force a vote, which was hilarious. And Democrats didn't want to vote on AOC's Green New Deal legislation. So here's an article in The Hill. Democrats wouldn't have a floor vote. So what Jimmy Dore wanted was a floor vote in the House of Representatives to vote for single payer. They wouldn't even do that. You're talking about the biggest racket of all time. Trump would easily defeat AOC. It wouldn't even be the debate alone would be hilarious, but AOC doesn't like to debate. Otherwise, she would have already debated Ben Shapiro. The problem is you have an issue with what the Democratic Party stands for. They stand for judgment, condemnation, pontificating, preaching, giving sermons, telling you about combating climate change while at the same time flooding strategic petroleum reserves and getting sued by environmental groups. They're not serious about any of their policies because it's a racket. What they do is they use a dossier funded by Clinton and the DNC. As the DNC emails show that Bernie Sanders was being cheated, they get loyalists within the U.S. government, Peter Strzok, McCabe, James Comey, Clapper, Brennan, an outgoing Democratic administration, investigates an incoming Republican administration, Trump Republican, and then they talk about democracy and norms and a peaceful transfer of power. Then you have AOC, who wins in 2018, and she then, I guess, there's a movement here that they're talking about here. So if Senator Bernie Sanders is the Godfather, AOC is Michael Corleone. No. As the architect of Medicare for all, architect of what? If it's not even a cardboard house called Medicare for all, architect of a $15 minimum wage. Okay, what places like companies like Walmart, if you enforce any type of that type of situation, they will then just fire or reduce the workforce. So that's another whole lot. Amazon too. Numerous other programs that are now mainstream. Medicare for all is not mainstream. Like I said, they wouldn't even vote. Democrats wouldn't even vote on it. By the way, I'll have a live stream tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on this channel. We'll talk about Kari Lake. We'll talk about Trump Republicans completely taking over the Republican Party, which is really hilarious that Dick Cheney now, the embodiment of miserably failed policies leading to counterinsurgency conflicts based on faulty intelligence. Okay, this is the man that talked about WMD and said we had to send Americans off to never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, ruining and impacting the lives negatively of millions upon millions of Americans and millions upon millions upon millions of people around the world. Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, Bush single-handedly They all three of them destabilized entire regions of the planet. Trump's foreign policy record is infinitely better. That's one of the main reasons it's a moral imperative to vote for Trump. If you don't vote for Trump, you're voting for poverty and you're voting for war. And you're voting for counterinsurgency conflicts because the Lincoln Project is embedded within the Democratic Party. You're voting. I was told once by somebody on the left, well, climate change affects the whole planet. And anyway, they signed up for the military. It's like, oh my God. Now I understand the apoplectic, hysterical mentality on things. The completely twisted, immoral viewpoint. They would rather have never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts with Bush and Rumsfeld and Cheney and Kinzinger and others. The never-Trumpers have no problem waging endless quagmires. We see what's taking place with Pelosi and Taiwan right now, and what good did it do? With Trump, you have Lincoln Project opposing him because his foreign policy was one of negotiating, and if negotiations didn't work, or part of a negotiation process were tariffs against China, for example, he would rather impose tariffs than send Americans off to counterinsurgency conflicts, never-ending wars. Whereas Democrats and never-Trump Republicans would much rather engage in military quagmires than impose tariffs on China. That's the mentality. That's the difference between never-Trump Republicans and Trump Republicans. We have poverty now in this country at 14 to 15%. We have inflation at 9.1%. We have a jobs report that beat estimates, but jobless claims are up and real wages are down 4.4%. So we had household median incomes at record highs with Trump in 2019, before Democrats and media tanked the U.S. economy because, to keep you safe. And so you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where AOC, if she ran against Trump, it would be no contest. The only chance they have is with Hillary Clinton. And I'm not a Clinton fan. Actually, Bill Clinton, which is hilarious. I mean, if you ask H.A. Goodman about Bill Clinton was actually a better president than President Obama. Better president than Joe Biden. Oh, thank you so very much for the kind words. Was he a great president? No. He was very, very fortunate because the Cold War and the Berlin Wall had fallen a couple years before he was elected. Then he had the .com and the internet, and he had a lot of things that he could take advantage of. So, but he was a better president than a lot of presidents. Was he infinitely more immoral than Trump? Yes. Okay, we don't have to get into the Oval Office with Bill Clinton, but I'm trying to be objective here. Now, the way that they view Trump, getting back to Hillary Clinton's the only chance they have. Because you could then say, okay, you know what? The Russians and the Kremlins and all of them took it away from her. They cheated her, which is what the left believes, as they go after Trump for not accepting things. And you could say, let's just, we got to redo 2016. And that is, Hillary Clinton can say she's not Biden, she's not Trump, and then she could run like that. Okay, see, I'm doing your work for you, Clinton campaign. So just go ahead and run. Obviously, I'm saying this because I believe that Trump would defeat Clinton also. I believe also, obviously, that if you look at AOC and Trump, it's no contest. First president to step foot in North Korea. Doha Agreement. Biden did not bring home Americans. He was forced to. He didn't want to. He was forced to, and he did so in a completely irresponsible, inept manner. He utilized our mortal enemies as, to help us bring home people, and it was a catastrophe. Those 13 Americans should be alive today. Those over 100 Afghans should be alive today. But Trump negotiated a May 1st, 2021 withdrawal from the Doha Agreement. He negotiated the Abraham Accords. He was the first president to step foot in North Korea. He wanted dialogue with the Kremlin. So hopefully we wouldn't have had the geopolitical nightmare in Europe now, because Biden apparently can't negotiate. There are sacred cows that they just can't, they have to worship. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. Be here tonight at around 9 o'clock or so for the live stream. We're going to have an epic live stream tonight, people. So be here tonight. AOC versus Trump would be the most hilarious thing. The only thing worse than AOC would be Gavin Newsom. That would be that. It would be if you take Gavin Newsom and AOC versus Trump and anyone, just anyone. It would be like the 85 Bears versus Jerry Nadler's softball team. Trump being the 85 Bears. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now to this channel.